Financial arrangements, treatment planning, the financial agreement, whatever you call it, when a detailed financial and treatment presentation is offered to patients, it creates a golden opportunity to earn a yes and move patients forward with treatment. But I often hear administrators admit, we know we should be doing financial agreements, but we just don't. Sound familiar? That's because it's a challenging, potentially awkward conversation with patients. Unfortunately, administrators, the timing is never ideal either, as you're often talking about money and procedural details with patients who have just received an unwelcome, unpleasant diagnosis. Let's face it, in that moment, we're not selling a Louis Vuitton handbag or a new set of golf clubs. So just as we need to be ready every time we pick up the phone, we have to be prepared for this treatment conversation every time clinicians bring that patient up front. At this point, you should already be set up for success because of the express handoff concept presented in the last video, where the hygienist or assistant will duck out of the operatory near the end of the appointment to give you, the admin team, the clinical details of the new diagnosis. Okay, admin. So let's see what your treatment plan might look like for a patient whose diagnosis indicates a crown necessary on number 15. To prepare for this, you can print a treatment plan from your software, but these tend to be extremely generic, so you're going to have to be sure the language and information are customized. Your other option is to use a document like the downloadable one beneath this video. It allows you to easily fill in the treatment and financial details. You'll notice this form has a paragraph that spells out the details of how we expect to be paid. It's very important you have that written out, with a place for patients to initial it. That paragraph is the financial policy. Okay, so the diagnosis has just been made. Your clinical team has let you know Mrs. Jones is looking at a crown that could possibly become a root canal. Take this form and start plugging in the info in those minutes before Mrs. Jones comes up. You'll note tooth number 15, it's a crown. Our fee is $1,500. Insurance pays $700, so the patient portion is $800. Since it may become a root canal, on the next line, you'll enter tooth number 15, possible root canal. The fee is $1,000. Insurance covers $800, so the patient portion is $200. Those are the hard numbers, but you'll want to check a few insurance details. Is the patient subject to a waiting period? Is she eligible for that crown? Has she maxed out her insurance with another specialist? Has she met her deductible? These are the nuances you want to have ironed out when Mrs. Jones comes up. Very important detail here. When the patient arrives at the front desk to discuss treatment, you want to be at the same level, eye to eye, and next to her. If she wants to stand, you stand with her. If you want to invite her to sit in a consult area, you sit next to her. Now, with the treatment plan in hand, you might start light. How was that trip to Hawaii? How are your kids? Whatever makes a personal connection, and then continue in a reassuring tone. Mrs. Jones, the girls in the back let me know about the necessary treatment the doctor shared with you. I had the opportunity to check with your insurance to see how we can get the most out of your benefits. At this point, get in the habit of asking two specific strategic questions. First, tell me what you know about your insurance, Mrs. Jones. I call this the Insurance IQ Indicator, and it will tell you exactly how much they don't know about their insurance, because most people assume their insurance covers everything. So as doctors and hygienists educate patients about clinical findings, admin, you want to educate them about their insurance, spelling out the details. What I learned about your insurance is you have $1,500 to use every year. You have a $50 deductible. They cover 100% of your preventive treatment, like cleanings and x-rays. They cover 80% of your basic treatment and 50% of your major treatment. So at this point, it's time for the second strategic question. With that information, is it okay if I tell you how your coverage translates into the treatment recommended to you today? The patient will almost always say yes, And this is when you present this form. Mrs. Jones, this is the tooth in question, number 15. The doctor recommended a crown for that tooth, and based on the info I found out from your insurance today, that crown is covered under that major category at 50%. You haven't met your deductible, so that means your estimated portion is the other $750 plus that $50 deductible. So the amount we will collect on the day of your appointment is $800. The girls also told me that once they get started, it's possible a root canal would be necessary. Luckily, your insurance considers that a basic procedure covered at 80%, so your estimated portion due for that would be $200. Very important here, these are only estimates. You never want to say, Mrs. Jones, your out-of-pocket portion will total, or this will cost $1,000. Once you've presented this treatment plan, it's time to turn it over to her. Do you have any questions about what I shared with you? If she has none, move on to the payment options. If you have no questions, we have several payment options available for you. We take cash, checks, or credit cards, and we even have financing options available through a company called CareCredit. Finally, it's time to schedule. Using the rule of 2, do you prefer Tuesday or Thursday? Morning or afternoon? Okay, the doctor has a 2 p.m. on Tuesday the 3rd. I've reserved that time for you. You'll receive reminders of that appointment time. While I'm saving that time in my system, I'll have you go ahead and sign this for me and we'll be all set. Giving her the document to sign while you're entering the appointment in your software takes some of the awkwardness out of the situation. And once it's signed, make a copy for her. Now, I put that conversation in extreme detail, but that's the gist of how the conversation around money should go. The more you fall into a deliberate rhythm of presenting this treatment plan and financial agreement, the easier it will become. This is a great role-playing opportunity. Practice this at your team meeting. Have the clinical team bring your treatment coordinator or administrators a sample case. This way, everyone can celebrate the next time Mrs. Jones says, "Thank you for everything. Let's get this scheduled."